Being a highly intelligent Sigma INFJ comes with its own set of unique challenges and struggles, often stemming from the combination of rare personality traits and exceptional cognitive abilities. Embarking on the path of a highly intelligent Sigma INFJ is akin to setting sail on a voyage through uncharted waters. The thing about Sigma INFJs is that they see the world in ways that are, well, pretty deep and complex. But here's the kicker. Not everyone out there gets where they're coming from. It's like they're speaking a different language sometimes, you know? So, these folks often find themselves in a bit of a pickle, trying to navigate through a world where their unique insights and quirks might not always hit the mark with others. And let's be real, it can feel pretty lonely at times, like you're on a wavelength of your own. With that said, here are 8 common struggles faced by these intellectual beings. 1. Feeling misunderstood. Alright, so let's break this down a bit. Sigma INFJs? They're like the rare Pokemon of personality types. You don't come across them every day. And here's the kicker. Their minds work in ways that are about as complex as trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. Seriously, it's like they've got a supercomputer in their brain constantly crunching numbers and analyzing the meaning of life. So, when it comes to connecting with others on a deeper level, Sigma INFJs can feel a bit like a fish out of water. It's not that they don't want to dive into those deep conversations about the meaning of existence or the intricacies of human nature. They absolutely do. But finding someone who's on the same wavelength? That's like finding a 4-leaf clover in a field of dandelions. Sure, there might be moments when they feel like they're dancing to a different beat, but that's what makes them so darn special. They're the ones who dare to think outside the box, to question the status quo, and to dream a little bigger. So, feeling misunderstood? Nah, let's call it feeling ahead of the curve. 2. They don't get out much. Sigma INFJs are like the ultimate thinkers. They've always got their heads in the clouds, pondering life's big questions and whatnot. And while they're total pros at diving deep into the sea of knowledge, sometimes they forget to come up for air. You see, because their brains are always buzzing with ideas and insights, Sigma INFJs might find themselves skipping out on social gatherings more often than not. It's not that they're antisocial or anything. They're just so darn engrossed in their own little worlds that they forget there's a whole party happening outside their heads. So, while they might not be the life of the party, Sigma INFJs bring a whole lot of depth and insight to the table. And hey, who needs small talk when you've got the meaning of life to ponder upon? 3. Difficulty finding like-minded individuals. Finding like-minded folks can be a bit of a puzzle for Sigma INFJs. You see, Sigma INFJs have this unique perspective on the world that sets them apart from the crowd. They're not simply okay with surface-level conversations. They crave depth and meaning in their interactions. And while they're more than willing to engage in small talk, what they really long for is someone who can match their level of insight and understanding. But here's the thing. When you're operating on a wavelength that's a few notches above the norm, finding those kindred spirits can be a bit of a challenge. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Not impossible, but definitely not easy. And this is not to say that others are not intelligent. It's just that most choose to use their intellect on what's common and collectively acceptable. Sigma INFJs are not better. They just never fold to social pressures. They don't even know how or where to start. Authenticity is their essence. 4. Their brain constantly craves intellectual stimuli. While most opt to satisfy the palate and crave for what's in the cookie jar, for Sigma INFJs, their brains are like hungry little monsters too. However, they are usually always craving their next intellectual meal. When you've got a brain that's constantly firing on all cylinders, anything less than a mental workout feels about as satisfying as a stale piece of bread. It's like trying to run a marathon in slow motion, frustrating, exhausting, and downright unsatisfying. And let's not even get started on the whole focusing thing. When your brain is craving intellectual stimulation like a kid in a candy store, staying focused on mundane tasks can feel like trying to herd cats. near impossible. So, while their brains might be itching for a mental adventure, Sigma INFJs know that sometimes the real challenge is finding satisfaction in the everyday tasks, even if it means flexing their intellectual muscles in unexpected ways. Five, skepticism and questioning authority. The highly intelligent Sigma INFJ personality often has a knack for seeing through the surface of things. They're like the Sherlock Holmes of personality types, always on the lookout for hidden truths and deeper meanings. When it comes to established norms, authority figures, and societal expectations, they're not afraid to ask the tough questions. Their penchant for skepticism can sometimes make them feel like they're on the outside looking in. While their critical thinking skills are undoubtedly unmatched, they can also lead to feelings of alienation, especially when they clash with those who adhere more rigidly to conventional beliefs. But thankfully, Sigma INFJs understand that skepticism is a double-edged sword. While it may lead to occasional conflict, it's also what drives progress and innovation. After all, it's the skeptics who dare to question the world as it is and envision the world as it could be. And in a world that's constantly evolving, that's a pretty powerful gift to have. 6. Struggling with small talk. Sigma INFJs typically prefer deep and meaningful conversations over small talk and superficial interactions. This preference can make it challenging for them to navigate social situations, particularly in environments where casual conversation is the norm. And while their aversion to small talk might earn them a few puzzled looks or raised eyebrows, Sigma INFJs wouldn't have it any other way. After all, why waste time discussing the weather when there are far more interesting topics to explore? But here's the thing too. Despite their distaste for small talk, Sigma INFJs understand that sometimes it's just par for the course. So they'll muster up a smile, nod along politely, and maybe even throw in a well-timed joke or two. But deep down, they'll be counting down the minutes until they can escape back into the world of meaningful conversation where they truly feel at home. 7. Balancing introversion and extroversion. As introverts, Sigma INFJs often require time alone to recharge and reflect on their thoughts and feelings. But here's where it gets interesting. They've also got this extroverted side that's constantly itching to burst out and make a difference in the world. They're the ones who want to roll up their sleeves and dive headfirst into the fray, connecting with others on a deeper level and making a positive impact wherever they go. Now, you might be thinking, how the heck do you balance introversion and extroversion? And trust me, it's no easy feat at all. Let's just say it's like trying to juggle flaming torches while riding a unicycle, tricky to say the least. On one hand, you've got this deep-rooted need for solitude, for those moments of quiet reflection that recharge your soul. But on the other hand, you've got this burning desire to connect with others, to share your ideas and insights with the world. And sure, sometimes that inner conflict can feel like a bit of a tug-of-war. It's also like you're constantly at odds with yourself, torn between the comfort of solitude and the excitement of human connection. 8. Feeling the weight of responsibility. Sigma INFJs may feel a heightened sense of responsibility towards solving complex societal issues and making a meaningful difference in the world. Whether they are actively doing it or just a visualized thought in their head, they have that inclination regardless. It's like they're constantly striving to live up to their own, impossibly high standards to affect the change they desire in the world. And when they feel like they're falling short, when they're unable to make the impact they know they're capable of, it can be downright crushing. But on the flip side, that sense of responsibility? It's also what drives Sigma INFJs to push themselves harder, to go the extra mile in pursuit of their goals. It's like a fire burning in their belly, propelling them forward even when the going gets tough. So, while feeling the weight of responsibility might sometimes feel like a heavy burden to bear, Sigma INFJs know that it's also what gives their lives meaning and purpose. And as long as they keep fighting the good fight, they know that they're making a difference, one small step at a time.